Hello, I'm Madison, and today I will be showing you step by step on how to make cake pops. I have chose to talk about this with you guys today because I love baking, and cake pops are a delicious treat you can make easily if you know how to make them. Cake pops can be a good dessert for when you have parties or special events because they make great party favors and are a nice alternative to having cake or cupcakes. Let's start by going over the ingredients and materials you will need. For the ingredients, you will need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of sugar, 3/4 cup of cocoa powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoons of salt, 2 large eggs, 1 cup of buttermilk, a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. You will also need 1 cup of very hot water, frosting, almond bark, and sprinkles, but the sprinkles are optional. For the materials, you will need a large mixing bowl, measuring cups and spoons, a whisk, a hand mixer, a spoon with holes for your almond bark, a medium-sized pot, a baking pan, a large cookie sheet and wax paper, and a freezer. Now that we have went over the ingredients and materials for the cake pops, you can now preheat your oven to 350 and spray your baking pan with non-stick spray. In a large mixing bowl, whisk together the flour, the sugar, the cocoa powder, the baking soda, the baking powder, and the salt with the whisk until all of it is mixed in good. Then after you whisk your mixture together, you now need to put in your eggs, your cup of buttermilk, your oil, and your vanilla. Now you want to whisk this with the hand mixer until the batter is thin. Now that the batter is mixed, pour your hot water, your cup of hot water, into a measuring cup until it's 1 cup. And then pour it into your mixture and continue to mix it with the hand mixer until it is thin. Now that the batter is thin and watery, you will now put it in your baking dish, like so, and just scrape it out until all of it is in the pan. Now that you have poured the batter into the pan, put it in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes. Now that it's been 40 minutes, we will now take out the cake and let it set and completely cool before we do the next step. Now that the cake has cooled off, now you want to transfer it to a large mixing bowl, and then you will start crumbling it. Before you start crumbling your cake, take your baking sheet and put some wax paper on it. Now you want to start crumbling the cake. Now that you have crumbled your cake, you're now going to take 3 to 4 tablespoons of your icing and put it into the crumbled mixture. then you want to stir it all up. Now that you have added the frosting to it and mixed it well, you're going to take bite-sized portions and roll them into a ball, and then stick them on your baking sheet. Now that you have your cake balls on your wax paper, you can now put them into the freezer for about an hour. Now that we have had the cake pops in the freezer for about an hour, you can now take it out. Now that we have taken the cake pops out of the freezer, we can now melt the almond bark. You want to turn your temperature to low heat and continuously stir until melted. Now that you have melted your almond bark, take your cake pop and put them on the spoon and roll them around in the almond bark. And then get all the excess icing off, and then you're going to set them on some wax paper. Then you want to take some sprinkles, optional, and you can sprinkle your cake pop while it's still hot. Now that you have dipped your cake pops in the almond bark and sprinkled them, you can set them back on the cookie sheet and put them in the freezer for another 30 minutes. Now that your cake pops have been in the freezer for about 30 minutes, you can now take them out and start to put them in the decorative cups. Now you know how to make cake pops. You can now make them at home yourself.